questions. Try to tap into those as soon as we can. Appreciate everyone's time, so go ahead.
Matt, how difficult is it to kind of take over calling a defense when it's been installed, obviously before the season started, and it's basically somebody else's defense?
Yeah, I think the great part about it was just going back to the spring when I had the opportunity to come here, and thankfully Nick extended that opportunity to me. Coach Sirianni's been tremendously amazing, for me to be around in this program, and obviously Mr. Laurie and Howie have built here. For me, it's just been such a privilege. So kind of just coming into the building and really being in a role where I kind of was in a lot of different areas, at the time, being able to help a little bit with offense from some of my experiences there and special teams, which I love, that part of it. And then defensively, being around those great coaches and around Sean, who's phenomenal, and kind of putting the installation of the defense in and learning. For me, it was a great learning opportunity at that point. So just kind of being involved with always, with coaches, I think it's always collaborative, right? We always kind of meet and talk and have different ideas and thoughts. And certainly, like I said, it was a great opportunity for me to kind of learn the defense that, Sean was building. But it's the Eagles defense. It's the 2023 Eagles, and that's what we were trying to develop. And I think every year in football, things change a little bit and schemes change based on the people and the personnel that you have. And certainly, I think that's what we've been trying to do through the course of the year. So it was good for me. I was kind of, already in the mix with those guys, trying to just offer help and experience when I could in certain situations that maybe I've been experienced with or been around. And so I think from that aspect of it, it's a great collaborative effort, I think, with everybody. There's great coaches, coaches that have been here, new coaches that came in, Coach Rocker and Coach Wash and those guys that were here and DK, to be able to bridge some of the stuff previous and to build this year's Eagles defense is really, I guess, what it's about. So that's kind of, where we are, and we've had a little bit of a change of maybe roles or responsibilities, but it's still, I would say, a huge collaborative group. And, Sean's a tremendous football coach. He's a super intelligent, with scheme and teaching, and I've learned a lot from him from that aspect of it and tried to offer some insight into different things that I've seen through the years. So we're all still kind of trying to just work together from that aspect of it and make it a group effort.
How do you know, Matt? How do you know when it's enough to change, not enough to change?
Yeah.
You can't change everything.
Yeah. Great question. I think it's really. I think defenses in football evolve every week. Based on who you play and kind of the schemes and the problems that the offense presents. I think that's like one of the things that for me that I always look at. Sometimes I say this all the time. Sometimes it's more like the NBA than it is anything else. Like, what are the matchups and what are the people? And I think that we've been evolving, through the course of the season in different areas and different ways, and trying to maximize what we do each and every single week. So I think you still have to have some of that. I think you do have to evolve and do things that fit the players that you have to that particular week. But certainly, you want to keep the foundation of what you've spent a lot of time on, and just, a lot of times, try to just let the talent shine that we have on the field, which is great. We have great players, we have great coaches. So, really just excited watching them play and learn to get to know them, and be around guys like Fletcher Cox, who I have the utmost respect for and have just, I remember coming out with the draft, I loved him then. I was like, let me get my hands on this guy, and a lot of those guys like that. So just being around tremendous people like that, that's what I think makes, that's what as coaches makes us better. You be around great players. I've been blessed to be around a lot of great players, and there's great players here. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can from all of them. And then, you try to figure out what do they do well and how can they impact a game, and how can you get a matchup maybe in a game that helps you win in those situations. So you try to find that balance. I want to go back. Yep. And I'll come back.
The collaborative process that's the Eagles defense. How much of your imprint can you put on this game this late in the season?
I think again, it's really our imprint. I don't think through the course of my years in defense, offense, whatever it is that I've ever really felt like it's mine. I think it's the players. And I think the beauty of it and the way the NFL works through the years that I've been in it is it changes every year. And I think you got to be able to identify what do you do well, and then try to emphasize that, and then what are areas that I think we can get better at, and then try to emphasize those. And sometimes it takes a little while. Sometimes you build on it. But I don't think there's any one great playbook that just comes in and is like, here you go. This is the one that's going to, do it all the time, because I think everyone would do that. I think it's the art of it is trying to adapt what you think helps your players the best, to give them a chance to go play fast and aggressive and give them a chance to win. So I think that's just what we're trying to do as a collective group, is decide, okay, hey, what are we really good, or what do we need to add, or what are we missing, and grow that, through the weeks as we go.
Matt, how did the switch happen?
As far as,
How did Nick come to you and make the change?
I'll probably leave the conversations as, Nick can handle those from the conversations he's had. But I think Nick is, I think, look, as a head coach, you're just trying to do everything you can to give yourself, the best chance to maximize everybody in the building. And I'm certainly very blessed that I'm here. I'm honored that he was allowed me to be in the building. I'm honored that Sean, has been so great, and I've been able to learn from him. And he's a huge part of everything still, now. So there may have been a little bit of a switch in some of the responsibilities, but I feel like it's still just a group effort of, like, we go in the room and we talk about, the different areas of the game and what teams are going to do. We talk about what our players do well. So it's a huge open dialogue all the time between everybody to do that. So I think it's just, a little bit of a shift from that aspect of it.
How did the interactions work with you and Sean during the game and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, is he making?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. So, and again, just depending on where you are on the field, obviously, it's really cool. Like, I wish sometimes you guys ever sat in the box during a game. Like, there's so much information that comes from upstairs and really on the field. I've always looked at, like, those are the eyes, your eyes in the sky, and it's got to happen live. It's got to happen in time. And those suggestions are always free flowing. That's why we're all on the line together with the headsets and everything, where, they may see something from up top and they may, hey, look, this is happening, or see this over here. And you're trying to communicate it to the players on the field at the same time. So, when I was upstairs, I was trying to do the same thing with Sean downstairs, and he did a great job of really helping me through the game with some of the stuff that he was seeing. But there's other coaches up there, that are doing the same thing, whether it's the guys that are giving you personnel, or guys that are seeing different things in the run game, the pass game, and really what you try to do is you take the on-field eyes and then you cross-reference it with the eyes up in the sky. And then obviously now we have the tablets, which is great. We used to have the pages back in the day, and you're trying to figure everything out. But and you're trying to figure out, okay, hey, what happened here, or what was good, and where are they, what are they doing, what's their game plan? And so when you're in certain situations in the game, some of that is live feed, like you're getting all that information, and you're trying to communicate that to the players on the field to see if you can help them. Sometimes you can get it in time, sometimes you can't, and you get it corrected when you come to the sideline in those. But that communication upstairs, downstairs is critical. It's really, I think it's one of the cooler things that we do that probably, we really, you don't see. I know they got the cameras in the box now and all that stuff, but, just think about the information that's coming down at halftime, whether, I'm going down at halftime and we're trying to make adjustments, or Sean's coming in at the locker room saying, hey, we got this, and this is going on, or the other coaches from that collaborative group. You only got so much time to do it because you got to get back out on the field. So that whole race of all, that's really cool.
How did you talk about the collaboration with Sean, specific to the secondary, in the role, because it seems like that's been part of your focus in the last several years, but what were some of the things that you could do in this role that you couldn't before, and Sean, and what he supplies to the scheme here, and what are some of the things that you guys have already started to change that you couldn't have done in your previous role?
Previous role here?
Yes.
I never felt like at all in any of the roles. I think everybody's really, working with great people, really great people. So I never felt like there was not a suggestion or a thought or a conversation that, couldn't happen from that aspect of it. So I think it's just free flowing back and forth, between all the coaches from that standpoint. And I fully understand is, in certain roles or whatever it is, like you might have an idea you think is really good and it just may not make it in, and, that's fine. It is what it is, but you go through that process to make sure you're trying to do everything you can. And, I think it gets to a point in the week too, where like, there's a lot of information we feed these guys and a lot of stuff they have to learn. Early downs, that'll be today, and then third down tomorrow. Red area will be the next day, and 2-minute will be on top of that. And sometimes you get towards the end of the week, depending on the game plan and the time that you have to prepare to install, whether it's a short week or a long week. Sometimes you get to the end and say, all right, you know what? I don't think this is really going to make it in the game plan this week. Sometimes you actually take all that information and you vet it through, and you say, okay, this may be something we can get to in the game. Sometimes you have like good ideas or thoughts that you don't get to practice, but maybe it's a foundational call that you have, that sometimes it's actually easier to install during the game because there's less variables because the game's maybe declared. You kind of know what the plays are, you know what the tips are from the looks that you get from the opponent. So, you try to keep those ideas fluid from that standpoint too.
From a self-correction standpoint, what do you want back? Perspective on that last drive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would take it all back, I mean, that drive starts with me and I got to do a better job to get them, in position to get us off the field and obviously help us win. I think our guys played really, really hard. I was really, proud of the way they went out and, give praise to them for what they did. I thought, tried to play aggressive, tried to play physical up front, covered really well. And then obviously in the 2-minute drive, wasn't good enough. And that's me. And I got to get some, things in there or calls in there, whatever it may be to help them a little bit more so they can go out. And, obviously they, give them credit too. They made a great play too. They're a good football team. And, but I got to just do a better job.
Why'd you like the call? Why'd you like the call on the game-winning touchdown?
Why'd I like it? Hindsight, I don't really like it very much right now. I mean, obviously, it didn't work out.
Well, I mean, at the time, why'd you choose that call at that time?
Yeah, I think during the course of that drive, there's probably a couple plays in there and calls and coverages, things that we were mixing that, that you look at and like, okay, this was good. And then, maybe a play two before that, there was a call that maybe on that last play would have been better, but the play before that, I saw something that made me nervous about calling it again because there was maybe another space or another, opportunity for them in there, to make a big play. So moved away from that call, went to another call to try to, give help other places. And, obviously wish I had another call in that situation to be able to help in those areas. And then really in the situation in the field where we were, a lot of it too, I was, we're trying to gauge the clock and see where we're at from the time and how much time was going by, because that changes some things as you go and what they can do, as it limits as the time goes down, then they have to start elongating. They still had some time and, they had the right play on for that situation.
How did you handle things from a personal standpoint? How'd you handle things from a personal standpoint when it came to Sean? Obviously, it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Since what was your messaging to him? How did you handle that?
Yeah, what I love about football and what I love about coaching, and one of the reasons I got into coaching, honestly, is because of the relationships. I think that's what's really important, and just my story and where I came from, and left the business world to get into coaching. I played football. I love football. I loved the relationships I have from football. I loved the coaches that I had. My parents were teachers, and I saw how they impacted kids and young people. And so that's why I left and I got into coaching. And, honestly, I think, this has been great for me coming to this organization, Nick, the culture he has here, to be able to get back to that. I think it's a very competitive business. It is what it is. The NFL, it's about production, and we have to produce. We understand that. And, when you're in it for a long time, which I somehow, I'm now the old guy. I don't know how that happened, but it happened quick. And, you get caught up in the rest of it. You're trying to produce and you're trying to win, which is what we're all trying to do. But to me, it's the relationships, whether it's the relationships I have with the players or the coaches. I hold a lot of value in that. And, when the game is done and we're all, not with the game anymore, it's the relationships that'll stay. And I think I've been really blessed with Sean to have a relationship and build a friendship. We've had mutual friends that we've either worked with and have that connection to each other. And he's been great, really helped me transition in here, in a situation where, my family's not here. I'm kind of, here by myself, and he's looked out for me from that aspect of it. So I think in those situations, the first thing for me, whether it's whatever it is, you pack all the rest of it away and you talk as friends. Most important thing is that everybody's okay. That's the most important thing, because in the end, that's all that matters. And then, at that point, once you make sure and you check in and say, okay, well then, all right, from the other side of it, then how do we go forward and what's the best plan? And then you sit down and you just try to figure it out.
Matt,
Yeah. Yeah.
What you do to reconcile that?
Yeah. Man, I just gave him a big hug before I came in here too. It's really been awesome for me to, be back around Slay and really have an unbelievable relationship. He's a great guy. He's super kind, super funny. He's very determined. He's everything that, that he is. And obviously just so appreciative of him, and our conversation that we had in the spring, and just, just helping me. Honestly, he's helped me a lot. He's in the spring, just kind of getting acclimated and just talking through. And honestly, he's one of the guys I knew coming in the building. And you know how it is when you go into a new building, or you go someplace new and you're trying to learn people, you gravitate towards the ones you know. And, he out there with arms open and trying to, help me kind of, fit in and feel comfortable, which I really am very grateful to him for. And I think, just look, as you go through life and you grow and you learn and, hopefully improve and get better as a person, from me personally, where I was, whenever that was, I'm just trying to be a better person every day, and I'm just really thankful to him for that. And then, you roll into the season and you're playing football and you're talking technique, and we were out there post-practice one day and he was working on some man-to-man techniques and footworks with the young guys, and I was sitting there watching, and we were just kind of talking about techniques, and you get back into the football fundamentals of it, which he's super great at, and that was fun. You're back coaching and teaching, and a couple things we were talking about, which was really cool. And then, we get into the season, and he was obviously knew, maybe the first game of the year or so was going to be a little bit tough for me, and he kind of was there and kind of made sure I was okay, and that was awesome. That was awesome. So I think, look, everybody tries to grow as people and sit down and come together and go forward, and that's what's been really, really awesome and cool, about it. And I love that, and I don't think all of us are ever our most perfect selves for our entire lives, and I don't think that has ever happened. So it's good for me to be able to come back and build some of those relationships, the way that really, you want them.
Matt, throughout your time in the NFL, what have you learned about yourself as a play caller? And throughout this year,
Sure.
You weren't in that role where you kind of take the mental reps to get ready for that?
Yeah, good question. Play caller is probably a longer one, trying to decide there. I've kind of morphed through the years depending on the stage of my career with some of that stuff. Probably better play caller at times than not, I think sometimes with the play caller part of it, you go to different experiences that you've had in those situations. Sometimes in the moment, there's different instincts that kick in. Say, oh, like I'm feeling this. And a lot of that happens in game. And it's probably because of something that experience has taught you, usually in a negative way, in the previous years. But I try to draw on those as much as I can. I think all we do to get ready to call the game is do the best we can to put the players in the right situations to be able to go play fast and play aggressive. And I think when you don't do that as a coach, that's where you feel the worst. That's where you feel really horrible that I didn't give that person a chance to be successful on that play. So any of those opportunities that I've had where I didn't do that, I really try to make sure I take good notes and make sure that doesn't happen again. I don't want to do that. And this year has been really cool for me. Honestly, when I got here, being able to be in a lot of different areas, help on offense, which was fun. Coach Stoutland and I go way back to Syracuse days, and that was great being around him and his family again, and helping on special teams and sitting in those meetings. That's fun. And then defensively, it's been great, for me just to listen and watch coaches. I would say probably in more of my, more recent years, been around and watched a lot of great young coaches come through and tried to help them and do whatever I can to maybe, guide them or give them any sort of advice that I may have. And that's been really cool for me. And even, with Coach Sirianni, and things that, that he's dealing with. And I'm like, hey, I'm here if you need me as a sounding board. So I really enjoy those roles. I enjoy that part of it now in my career, kind of just, hey, I have a bunch of knowledge, I have a bunch of experience, I have a bunch of wisdom. If you want any of it, it's here before I'm not doing this anymore. So, I just want to try to share as much of that as I can, and might as well. That's kind of what everyone, helped me with. I think everyone helps you at some point.
Last one for Matt, because we got to get Taylor in soon too.
Nick always tells us about his role as a CEO coach with the defense as an offensive-minded guy. He says he's got a couple demands, but he hires people to do that job. So how does that sort of relationship work now that you're in the position you're in?
Yeah, good one there too. What's crazy is thinking about this. So I've worked for 2 head coaches, been in the league like 20 years. That's kind of crazy. So this is the first time with an offensive head coach, which is cool for me. I'm learning a lot from him. And not only as Nick as the head coach, but and Nick and how he handles all the different areas, and then the offense too. So he's the head coach. What his vision of the team is what I'm. It's our job as coaches to try to go fulfill. Whatever he sees that to be, and he's very, very smart. Coach Sirianni's been doing this a long time. He's got a great mind for the game. We talk a lot about situational football together, and what he sees, and then he'll ask what I see, and I think that collaborative conversation is really awesome. I think, you grow a lot from that. But there are certain things that he, as a head coach, if he wants and that's the way he sees it, and that's what we do, and there's not really a, you have a conversation, but in the end, he's the head coach. That's who we work for, and that's the vision that we have to fulfill is whatever in those. And it usually comes for all of us when we're in those situations. There's probably something that transpired that, we all have our scars from games that have happened, and, he may be in a situation or like, hey, I just don't want that to happen again. We'll figure out the rest of it. And I completely understand that, totally.
Great. All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much. Great to meet everybody, yeah.